Hi, today I'll be showing you how to form quadratics from their roots. So the key concept to remember is that you should always form two terms that are equal to 0 and then multiply them together to form the quadratic. So let's take a look at an example. So if x is equal to 5 and x is equal to -2, form the quadratic equation. Okay, so remember that in a factorized quadratic equation, one of the terms must equal to 0 in order for the whole equation to equal to 0. So that means that either this term will equal to 0 or this one in order for the whole equation to equal to 0. So knowing that, we can compute each one of these terms. So if x is equal to 5, how will we reposition this expression for it to equal to 0? And that would be x minus 5 is equal to 0. It's the same thing, except now it's equal to 0. And in the case of the second term, it will be x plus 2 is equal to 0. So these are the two elements of our quadratic equation. And now we can multiply them out. So we have the two factors. And to get the quadratic equation, we simply multiply them. So let's do that. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Minus 5 times x is minus 5x. And minus 5 times 2 is minus 10. And tidying that up, we get x squared minus 3x minus 10. Okay, so now let's try one more example. So they might ask you, they might say this: the function ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 cuts the x-axis, so x-axis at -3, 0 and 5, 0. So this is along the x-axis. This is the parabola, which is the curve of the quadratic. That's where it's cutting. And they're asking for you to find the values of a, b, and c. Okay, so this is going to be similar in solution to the previous example we did. Since we know that in both cases, so x is equal to -3 in the first term here, and in the second one, x is equal to 5 here. So once again, we have the same position that we were in last example. So we can set the first term to x plus 3 is equal to 0. And for the second one, x minus 5 is equal to 0. So now we just multiply those out. So x plus 3 times x minus 5. We'll get x times x squared. Minus 5 times x is minus 5x. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. And now we'll just tidy that up a bit more. And we'll get x squared minus 2x minus 15. Okay, but they were asking us to get a, b, and c. And recall that the format of any quadratic equation is always ax squared plus bx plus c. So now we can compare that with our quadratic and see how ours lines up. So our quadratic is x squared minus 2x minus 15. And now we can easily spot what a is, what b is, and what c is. So for ours, a is going to be 1, because the coefficient of x squared is just 1. That's why it's invisible. B is going to be -2. We can see that right here. And then c is going to be minus 15. So we're just looking at the format of any quadratic equation, and we're using that to find out what a, b, and c is.